How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to day 3 of daily uploads. Now today I'm going to be talking about a trade from today that I did send in the Telegram, which as you can see was here. So we were waiting for a break above this high, which did eventually happen. Now if you want to join the Telegram, there's a link in the description, as I said, where I do sort of full video breakdowns explaining the trades, how I take them, my strategy, things like that. So feel free to check that out if you're interested. That being said, we're going to go through a bit around the trade today, why we took it. That being said, we're going to explain a bit about the trade today, how it relates to the video the other day where I spoke about the new thing I've been testing, and there'll be more videos on that as well. But without further ado, let's jump onto the charts. So this was the trade or the setup. It was quite a simple one. Now, if you remember in the video from the other day, I spoke about something I was testing where I was looking at breaks of highs and lows and looking at if the candle closes above or below the wick within that high. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and check out that video. It'll make a bit more sense. But essentially, that's what we were looking for with this trade, because we're starting to see a trend in the data around, how it works and if it's a valid setup or not. So, as you can see from the video yesterday as well, I spoke about highs and lows and how I identify bias. That was exactly what I was doing here. So as you can see, when I came to the charts in the morning in London session at 8, we started here, and obviously we want to look at previous highs and lows of the session. So that was this one here, and well, what I've highlighted, this one here. So this was the Asia high, this was the most recent Asia low, this was the true Asia low. But for me, I like to use the most recent one. Also, if you trade liquidity sweeps, you could argue that it's kind of filled that area, tapped into it, and dealt with that. So this was the lot I was interested in. So when we got to London session, we were essentially looking for price to either come down and break this low or break this high. When that then happens, that gives us our bias for the day, for where we want to trade. And so essentially I was looking at this, and as you can see, we get the 10 o'clock candle with big momentum up through that high that I was talking about. And not only that, doing what I've been testing, which is closing above the wick, or the biggest wick in that high. As you can see here, it closed up here. So then it just comes down to entry model preference. Now, if you want to know my entry models and how I trade, as I said, you can find out about that below. But there's numerous ways that you can get into this. If you're someone that likes to trade fair value gaps, you've got obviously that sort of trade there. If you're someone that likes to trade the tap of the wick on the other side, then that would have given you an entry. If you like to trade, price equilibriums, then you could look at this area as sort of being the 50% or the equilibrium, any sort of way like that. And it was very easy. You just target the target wherever your risk reward is, so 1 to 1 to 3, like that. And as you can see, it worked perfectly. Now something I just want to add on to this as well is me obviously talking about the candle closing above or below a high, but also above the wick. Now we can kind of see this here if I go back to the charts, where what we have is, if I just remove this for now, a new high being made here. Price breaks above this high, but what does it fail to do? Break above the highest wick in this high. It fails to close above it. And what do we then see? Price start to sell off. Now, is it necessarily going to keep selling? Who knows? My trading day's done. Obviously, we still have this low, and it's still looking, pretty uptrendy. But it is starting to show signs of weakness, which would be interesting to continue to test around what I was saying with failing to break above the high. So that was kind of the trade that we had today on GU, as I said, all in the Telegram. Now, if we look at other sort of charts, EU is pretty similar. You don't get as deep of a tracement on EU as you would GU typically. But again, it's starting to look like it's rolling over. If you look, failed to break above those highs multiple times, and now it's rolling to the downside. I would not be short until we break this low. It could very easily carry on bullish, over Asia session now. And again, if you want to, keep it simple, just view this as a sort of uptrend. But if it does break this low, then that's a break to the downside. Now, gold has been pretty interesting the last couple of days. However, as you can see, there hasn't really been too much volatility today around gold and the price of gold. So EU is starting to probably roll over to the downside, in my opinion, short term. But GU was the long that we had today. If I remove all of this, just to make it a bit clearer. So as I said, we had a break of this high, and we went long here, just around here, with a 30 pip TEP and a 10 pip SL. Oh, and a 10 pip SL. There we go. So that was the trade. Pretty bog standard one. Now we're rolling to the downside. If it breaks this low, then yeah, probably going to see a continuation to the downside after doing what I was speaking about, failing to break that wick and close above it. So that's something that we're going to continue to keep testing. If I pull it up now, you'll be able to see kind of where we're at. Now, if you want to, see more about this testing, more about these, this data collection, I'm doing live streams as much as my PC allows it, where we basically go through and collect data on the strategy and looking at how it works. At the moment, we're currently in August. So make sure to watch out for those streams if that's something you're interested in. But regardless, that was the trade today. Hopefully you found that useful. As I said, there's more in detail, video breakdown in my Telegram. But for now, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit a like. Let me know if you're enjoying these daily uploads, and I will see you in the next video.